welcome, welcome, welcome. Maybe morning, afternoon, or night, wherever you are. Please, you could introduce yourself as we wait for the next few minutes to start. Please just introduce yourself by putting your name and where you are joining us from in the chat box. You're highly welcome. Just give us about 5 more minutes and we should get into today's event. Thank you so much.
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Kainde Makinde, and want to especially welcome every one of you here tonight. This meeting is being organized by the Lifestyle Champion International, and today's discussion is a very interesting one, especially for some of us that like money. You know, when it comes to financial issues, it's something that is very interesting to me. But as we start the meeting tonight, we'd like you to introduce yourself. Just on the chat, just tell us your name and where you're joining us from, so that we can have an idea of the people we have here tonight. Our speaker is ready and is joining us all the way from UK. He's a good friend of mine, and I can assure you that you are going to have a wonderful experience today. Without wasting time, his name is Mr. Obafemi Raji. He worked in the bank for several years, and he had a lot of experience when it comes to in the financial institution. He has worked in a number of places, and at the same time, he has also ventured into a number of things, personal businesses, coaching, and the rest. Without wasting time, I want to give to you Mr. Obafemi Raji.
Thank you so much, sir. And can you hear me, sir?
Very well, loud and clear.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. It's a pleasure to be here. I want to also thank our organizer, Dr. Makinde, Ore Makinde, for giving me this platform and this opportunity to discuss with us. I'll be sharing my screen. Doctor, kindly confirm when you can see my screen.
It's coming up now. Very well.
Great. So good evening again, everyone. My name is Femi Raji.
Good evening.
And we'll be having this brief discussion together. Hopefully, we'll be able to glean one or two things as we proceed. So when the doctor reached out to me to take this subject, I was wondering, what has finance got to do with sleep? Because I know she's an ambassador or a preacher of balanced life, and specifically sleep, and I've read her book. So I was wondering, what has finance got to do with sleep, really? Then it struck me, one of the major factors that can have great impact on your sleep is money. And money-related issues. In fact, at a point in my life, some years back, I can't remember how far back now, maybe 4 or 5 years, I had to consult with her just so that I could be able to overcome an issue I had with sleep. And it was all surrounded by either the pursuit for money the balance of money, and the likes. So indeed, finance has something to do with sleep. Like the doctor mentioned, I worked in the bank for a decade, and then I felt, okay, I'm done with this. I need to move on with other aspects of my life. So I left the bank as a branch manager and proceeded. But a while after I left the bank, I began to face some challenges, usual life challenges that everybody will face. You may call them midlife crisis. And then I began to ask myself, did I really take the right decision? Then I'll wake up in the night suddenly, and I'll look on the bed, my wife sleeping by my side. I'll go to the other two rooms, see my children sleeping, and we had an elderly person sleeping with us. And all of a sudden, the burden of taking care of these people and their future weighs heavily on me, and sleep will basically disappear. So who says finance or money doesn't have anything to do with sleep? It does have a lot to do with sleep. And so today we'll be discussing the strategies of thriving and sleeping well during a recession, right? So presently, well, people in the finance world, we say that we are in a recession right now in Nigeria, not just in Nigeria, all across the world. If you follow global finance, you discover that a country like Ghana, for instance, went into hyperinflation sometime last year. They've had to restructure their loans with foreign lenders at least twice. Nigeria is presently in a situation where food inflation is well over 40%, right? So we can say we're in a recession, even though technically it might not look that way, but we are in a recession when it comes to the populace. And what is a recession really? I wouldn't want to go into the technical definition because that's not the purpose of this meeting, but just so that we have a reference point when we hear the word recession as being used in this discussion today, is a significant, widespread, and prolonged downturn in economic activity, right? So the key term there is significant, and then the second one is prolonged. Significant and prolonged downtrend of economic activity. So if you are in Nigeria, for instance, and let's say you're earning, just for the purpose of this discussion, let's say you're earning 100,000 per month, before the present regime, your money would have devalued, dropped in buying power by well over 50% in the last 30 months or thereabout. Right? So again, when we say prolonged downturn, in the financial world, you say 3 quarters, that would be like 9 months. So this is well over 9 months. Right? So when you have a significant means your money dropped heavily, right? So I heard some people talking about how things are expensive right now, not only in Nigeria, across several countries, right? But there is this myth about recession that I want to clear off from our mind. And that is the fact that recession is like one bad, demonic something that happens just to make our life miserable. And I want to say that is false. Since the Industrial Revolution, as you can see on the slide, most economies have grown steadily, seeing few economic contractions. However, recessions are still common. Now, I found the data on the IMF site. Between 1960 and 2007, there were 122 recessions affecting 21 advanced economies, according to the International Monetary Fund. Now, these are advanced economies. For third world countries like Nigeria and some other parts of Africa and Asia, this is even worse. right? So if you, I didn't want to put that in the slide so that I won't be tempted to start talking about Nigeria's economy. But if you look at our trajectory, it's been downwards, right, since independence, basically. So we've had this constant devaluation of our funds and tightening and difficult reduction in the purchasing power of the people. Even now, we heard that the minimum wage is been pegged at 70,000, but you know that even 70,000 cannot buy a bag of rice. So what am I trying to bring out here? Is that recession is cyclical. Let's not have this feeling that, okay, it just came because of something. Even in economies that are powerful, like China, like US, and even in fast-growing economies like India and Singapore, they do have recession. It is a balancing act, right? It balances, the flow of money. It will come. So we must allow that to sink into our heart and our head that this is cyclical. On an average, if you live to become 80, you should expect at least between 5 to 8 harsh moments of recession in your lifetime. Between 5 to 8 harsh moments of recession in your lifetime. If you're old enough, just cast your mind back. You hear people talk about SAP, you hear people talk about that the structural adjustment program. It's just not too far ago, right? And some of the people that experience that are still alive. And then they've experienced recession during the Buhari regime for those of us in Nigeria, and then we are having one now. So it's cyclical. It will come. I will have to have that at the back of our mind. The average US recession since 1857 lasted 17 months, right? So depressions even last longer. Once we know this, the next thing is to plan for and survive it, right? When we get to that slide, you will get to see that during the time of recession, the death rate increases, right? Due to factors we will discuss, one of which is not taking care of your health, and of course, purchasing power, taking care of getting drugs, and even sleep, right? So we must know that these things will come, right? If you are in the time of plenty now, anticipate a time of drought, right? Anticipate it and then work towards it. Since we know this, the next thing is how to plan towards it. For those in the trading world, they'll be conversant with this chart. Again, I will not spend so much time on it. But if we start at the lower part of that chart, if you can see my slide, it's just coming off from a recession, right? It's just coming off from a recession, and the economy or the commodity, as the case may be, is beginning to recover. Usually, many people say, is recovery possible? Is recovery possible? Then the recovery will start coming. So people say, like this recovery is possible. By the time a lot of people begin to believe that recovery has started, they are coming in, that optimism is coming in late because the recovery has started already. By the time the majority of the people believe that recovery is fully here, we've gotten to the peak of recovery, and we are entering into another season of recession, like we are right now, right? And that recession will continue for a period of time, and then it starts the cycle again. So if you see the upper part of my screen, you see that this thing comes like a sine wave, right? It has peaks and troughs, and this is what happened in real life. In real life, there will be times of plenty and times of lack. We must accept this. It is some level of self-deceit to believe that it's going to be rosy all through. There is some level of self-deceit in that. Now, because we are predominantly a traditional or perhaps religious people, there's a tendency for us to believe that those evil days may not come. But in real life, they will come. Right? In real life, there will be times where things will be tough, either on our health, either on our finances. This is the pattern of life, right? And we must accept it. Now, so let's move on. So since we know that recession is cyclical, it now behoves on us to plan for or survive a recession. If you are in a recession already, like we are right now, and you haven't planned for it, unfortunately, sorry, all you can do right now is survive it. And why do you need to survive it? You survive it because you know this is a cycle. It won't last forever. Even though it looks like there is no end in sight, it is actually a false, it is a mirage. If you remember that chart I showed you, right, where there is, are you sure we are going to recover? And then suddenly we recover. And then you think we are going to continue like that in plenty for so long, and then it begins to come down again. It might look like there is no way out right now, but I have good news for you. It won't last forever. It will come to an end, and there will be boom again in your life, in the society and the economy. There will be boom one way or the other. The world system, the law of supply and demand, and nature doesn't give room for perpetual prosperity or perpetual doom. There will be a resurgence at some point in time. If you haven't planned for recession and you are having it hot right now, all you need to do is seek for a way to survive it. Once you survive, a time of boom is coming, then you can right the wrongs of the previous recession while you prepare for the next, right? So how do you prepare for a recession, right? I'm going to run through this because, again, we're already in a recession, but this might just help us prepare once we survive where we are right now. Number one is that you have to save heavily and deliberately. When I was in the bank, I went marketing one time, and I got to a public school, and we're trying to get the staff there to get personal loan. And then I met with the principal, and we started talking, and he made a statement. This is well over 15 years ago, but the statement stuck in my head ever since. He said, the money you did not save cannot save you. Meaning, if you have not saved, had any amount saved, and then you need, let's say, a quick 20,000, you can't draw on an empty bank account to save you from a desperate need for 20,000 now, if you have not saved it in your past. Unfortunately, our society is moved by instant gratification and the desire to, show that I am doing well, right? So people don't save deliberately. And here's the principle that I usually give when I go for some coaching. And I say, try as much as possible. If you've worked in a place for 5 years, you should ensure that at that point in time, you have 6 months of your salary saved. Now, if your salary grows every year, at least have 6 months of your first year's salary, the amount you were paid in your first year, saved. Now, if you've worked in a place for 10 years, you should ensure that you've had at least 1.5 years of your salary saved. Have it as a rule of thumb. And the theory is this. If you earn 200,000 naira per month, and you are even finding it difficult to survive on that, should you lose your job, you will, in an unexplainable way, be able to survive on 100,000, which is 50% of your take-home pay while you are working. Somehow, you will cut all the excesses, you will, do away with things you don't need, and you'll be able to survive with half of your income. Now, imagine if you have 1 year's income saved up. What it means, hypothetically on paper, is that if you can survive on 50% of your monthly income, you've been able to put yourself in a situation where you might still be able to survive for 2 years, and that might be a long enough time, barring every other unseen circumstances like the rapid recession we are having or health-related issue, you might be able to survive for 2 years. So just have that at the back of your mind. If you've worked, if you're in employment and you've worked in a place for 5 years, for 8 years, and you can't look back into your account or in a form of savings and see that you have 6 months or 5 months salary kept untouched, you are living recklessly. Now, I know people will say, but my salary is small. The point is that save it. Your salary is small, but if you are out of a job, you will survive on much more less than your salary. Right? So this notion that because I am working, I will continue to earn is against the rule that recession time will come and a time of boom will come. We are not preparing for a recession. Then you must diversify your savings. I cannot overemphasize this. When you save, don't save your money all in one place. Take, for instance, what happened to Heritage Bank if you're in Nigeria. If you had all your savings in Heritage Bank, they would give you back the money if it's 5 million or less. But I saw yesterday in one of the Nigerian news that some of the workers held placards and were like, look, our own salaries and savings are there and blah, 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 right? Nobody is doing anything right now to say on a particular date you get your money, right? So diversify. Number 2, try to save in economies stronger than your own. So for instance, if you're in Nigeria, I want to believe most of us are from Nigeria, endeavor to save part of your funds in US dollars, Great British Pound, you know, some other currencies, right? That are in economies that are stronger than your own. So I remember just before Corona came, I had some discussion with some of my friends, and we're looking at, we don't know what will happen, but reading via books and studies, we know that whenever there's going to be a pandemic, third world countries will suffer the most in terms of their economy and currencies. So again, I know this is being recorded, so I'm going to use a hypothetical amount. So I converted part of my savings to dollars in one way. So let's say I was able to save, just for the purpose of this discussion, $1,000. As at then, the exchange rate was like maybe 400 and something, just around that time. So I would have spent like 400,000 plus to get $1,000. Remember, it is a saving, so I'm not planning to even spend it now, right? So and you have that saved. Now, 2020 till now is just 4 years. Remember, if you are saving for long term, awaiting a time of recession. That $1,000 today is worth 1.6 million. Right? If I had left it in Naira, it will still be worth 400,000 with a buying power of about 160,000. Right? So diversify your savings. Now, buy growing assets. Learn how to buy growing assets. And these are lands in areas where you think can improve. These are stocks, shares in Amazon, in top 500, companies on Wall Street. Learn them. When I was growing up, I used to marvel at why the elderly people around me listen to the end parts of any news. I don't know who gave them that template but for most news stations, at the end, they'll always talk about stock exchange and something is happening. They will now bring one chart and just be talking about something went up by 500 basis points. So I ask myself, what are these people watching? What's the meaning of this? Now that I'm a parent and I'm a bit educated in the financial part, I understand why. Some of them have interests. They've saved in foreign lands or saved in foreign assets or bought stocks and they are wanting to know why, right? So they bought growing assets. Buying land doesn't mean you want to have 20 houses. It's just that should anything happen, right? Should anything happen, like if let's say you had 7 lands scattered around Ikorodu or Songo, maybe one in even Abuja, and there's a recession now, there's a tendency that you can sell them. Of course, if you have saved heavily, when this recession came in, let's say you have hypothetically 100 million saved somewhere, for instance, during this recession, do you know you can buy plenty houses cheaply right now? You can buy plenty plots of land cheaply right now, right? And then you sell them when the economy is now booming again. And that time you will be selling them higher. But if you don't have any money saved, if you ate everything while the economy is rosy, you won't have anything to fall back on and you won't have anything to invest in. You have to know the difference between asset and liability. I will just leave that there. A car is not an asset. It is a liability and some other things. I'll jump that because you can always read that up. Then you have to build your skill. Remember, you are preparing for recession. Ensure that in your place of work or in your career path, if you are self-employed, you create a form of indispensability around you. Unfortunately, many of us gloss over that. When there is going to be cut in employment, like we are seeing all across the industry and across the world and industries, especially in Nigeria, you will discover that the people that will first be let go from their work will be people who are dispensable. You have to strive to be indispensable. You know, a wise king prepares for battle in the time of peace. You don't start sharpening your arrows and your sword when the enemy is knocking at your gate. You sharpen it while you are still hugging each other and cuddling. In preparation for the betrayal and war, you sharpen and prepare your armory, right? Then understand what will protect you, not necessarily what you like. So again, for those of us who are young here, there is this desire to do what we like. I have come to understand with the several people I've interacted with that many people who survive multiple recessions do not necessarily like what they are doing right now. But what they are doing right now can protect them in a recession. So let me give an illustration. You may like gardening, right? You may like drawing. You may like to be an artist. If being an artist and gardening cannot secure you during a recession, go look for something that can give you the money to protect you. Money is a protection. Then you can create time out of that to now do your leisure, right? Again, that's how you prepare for a recession. Now, your plans. Sorry, I missed the R there in your. I swallowed that. Sorry about that. Your plans can fail miserably if your health fails during a recession. Your plans, no matter how strong they can fail miserably if your health fails during a recession. Again, I will draw on my experience working in the bank. In the bank, we have this ability, well, I won't call it ability, we have this privilege of sitting down in front of a desk, see people working, and you just click on some buttons, and then you'll be able to see their bank accounts. I have been fortunate or privileged to see people who had very fat and enviable bank accounts that I would wonder, I mean, how did they arrive here? I have seen those accounts dwindle down to almost zero because of ill health. And in more than few of those, they ended up dying after squandering that wealth. So they planned, but health made the plan not to work. At this point, I'll have to invite the doctor, because again, I'm not a doctor and I don't have much to say here about health, but I do know from my experience that I've seen people who seemingly planned, but then they neglected their health, and then the health took away everything that they have planned. I want to invite the doctor to take it up from here. Dr. Ori.
Thank you so much, Mr. Femiraji. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. I want to say a big thank you for the insights that you have provided so far on how we can actually thrive and not just survive, during a recession. I think this is very vital information for each one of us. I just want to give us some insights here. This slide says poor health, poor sleep. It's an inversely proportional relationship. When your health is poor, you find out that you can't sleep. Just recently, not even recently, today, I had a patient who could not sleep. He couldn't sleep because he had a health issue. And then we also have people who, when they don't sleep, their lack of sleep, or what we call chronic sleep deprivation, can lead to a chronic illness. And we have enough evidence, we have enough literature to back up this finding. If you find your health failing during a recession, you're likely going to spend more on health bills. And if you are not sleeping because you're having a problem with your health, you're more likely to tell your doctor that, can I get something that will help me sleep? Can I get a sleeping pill? And we've discovered now that the sleep aid industry, is worth more than 2.5 billion US dollars. It's staggering, the amount of money in there, and even the annual cost of insomnia. We have the costs that come from you being absent at work, the fact that you're not sleeping and so you can't make it to work. And then you make it to work and then you are sleeping or unproductive or dozing at your desk. That's what we call presenteeism. So you're not really functioning, and it's going to affect, the turnover rate of that company, whether you like it or not. So this was a study done by Daly et al. About 6.6 billion Canadian dollars, were associated with the annual cost of insomnia. That's just in one country. And then we also have other costs that have to do with the fact that you're managing this person because he's not sleeping well due to different sleep disorders. They were able to say that those costs were up to 100 billion US dollars. So it's actually expensive when you're unable to sleep. It's expensive. And then next slide, if you now don't sleep, there are things that happen as a result of your sleep deprivation. So you can see this diagram here. It shows the root cause of disease. The root cause of non-communicable diseases are found in all these things in the ground here. So we have inflammation, we have stress, we have poor diet, we have toxins, which could come from food, especially processed foods. It could come from an infection. Lack of sleep is part of it. We have poor relationships, domestic abuse or violence. We have nutrient deficiencies from eating junk food all the time and not taking the foods that contain those micronutrients that will help you fight infection. And even those micronutrients too have been found actually to help you to sleep better. Lack of exercise. Exercise has been shown to improve the quality and the duration of sleep. If you have toxic thoughts just before you go to bed, you're thinking of all the bad things that are happening in Nigeria, that are happening around the world, you find it difficult to fall asleep. Traumatic experiences, sometimes genetics can be involved, the family history of hypertension or diabetes, but all these factors contribute to most of the chronic ailments that we see. And what are the chronic ailments? We have high blood pressure, we have ischemic heart disease, we have all sorts of cancers, particularly breast cancer and colon cancer. They've been associated with lifestyle, negative lifestyle behavior. Even when people feel tired all the time, chronic fatigue, it can be related to one's lifestyle. So just to mention a few. So if your business fails, if your plans fail, then you won't sleep at night. And when you don't sleep at night and you are not able to sort it out on time, then it becomes chronic and increases your risk of chronic disease. So a study actually showed that if you sleep less than 6 hours every night, it's a chronic form of sleep deprivation. That's what you do, less than 6 hours every night, then your risk for type 2 diabetes heightens, your risk for overweight and obesity heightens, your risk for a cardiac disease or even heart attack heightens. So there are so many reasons why you want to thrive during a recession and even outside of a recession, and even to sleep well, to enjoy quality sleep, because sleep is not just about going to sleep for 1 hour. Someone actually told me today that she lost her sleep. She had some losses, actually lost 3 dear people to her. She lost her twin sister, she lost her 2 parents within 9 months. So since that time, her blood pressure went up. She found it difficult to sleep. Sometimes she would not even sleep for more than 1 or 2 hours. So you can see that was a shocking experience, was a traumatic experience. And so you can't rule out events like that. But if she had had adequate counseling, bereavement counseling and support, maybe she would have turned out better. But we believe that she's going to get better now that she has sought intervention. So it's very important that whatever we're going through, once you know that you're not sleeping well, see your physician. Don't think that it will go away. In fact, if you've not been sleeping well, you don't even just need to say that, oh, I will sleep well. It's not enough to think about it. Just like we're saying for business ventures, to ensure that they thrive, you must be deliberate. To pass an exam, you must be deliberate. For you to become a successful lawyer, you must be deliberate. For you to have joined this meeting tonight, you have to sign in, you have to register. You must do something intentional that will help you to achieve that end result. So yes, we're talking about your investment, but at the end of the day, it's so that you can lay down on your pillow and feel, well rested. We feel that, Lord, I'm thankful that I had this insight to plan ahead and to do something that would, help my family to also thrive. So let me just stop here and hand it back to Prof. Femi. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. I'll just read back that last sentence here. It's a failed plan or businesses can lead to sleep deprivation, heightened risks of chronic diseases. And I can say as a banker, I saw a lot of this. I saw a lot of people walking into my office as a branch manager, and they will come with a file and they are asking for money. And the way banks are in Nigeria, I might say it is almost easier to jump and touch the moon than it is to get loan in some banks. So when some of those people walk in, you could see that this person, in fact, they will voice it that I haven't been able to sleep. Right? Of course, I didn't know the implication then, but now I know that could this be the reason why some people just don't wake up? Could it be the reason why some of those people you just hear that they came down with a stroke and you are wondering why? Could it be? Well, now we've discussed how to prepare for a recession. Unfortunately, majority of the world don't prepare for a recession. Unfortunately, people just make it a duty. I don't know if I can call it, they make it a duty not to prepare for a recession. People eat with both hands. And when you eat with both hands, what you are doing is that you are having 7 years of plenty and you are eating it all up, forgetting that there's going to be a 7 years of drought. Where your 7 years of plenty, or the savings you've had in your 7 years of plenty, is what is supposed to carry you through the 7 years of drought until, again, remember, the drought will not continue forever. It will come to an end, and then you proceed thereafter. So if you have not prepared for a recession, you don't have any savings, you don't have any land you can quickly sell now that things are tough, and still try to maintain your, your diet and some other things. You don't have anything you can easily turn to money. You don't have any shares anywhere, any stock. You have not saved in foreign currency. All your money has been in dollars, and now inflation has eaten it. If you don't have all of that, you have only one job to do. And that job is survive the recession. And this is the crux of our discussion today. In fact, that's where our topic is coming from, how to thrive and survive. How do you actually survive? Your job and my job is to survive. And why do we survive? We survive because we know it's not going to be forever, right? Another time of plenty will come. I missed this one. I goofed. I failed. Don't overbeat yourself. Another one will come. And tell yourself, should I be alive when the next one comes? I want to be properly prepared for it. If you're a football fan, one season comes, you almost clinch the cup. You don't pack your bags and say, Arsenal is no longer a club. No. You go to the transfer window, buy some players, rejig, sack your coach if need be, and prepare for the next season. People take their lives, take drastic decisions because they forget that this is just a phase. It will come, it will pass, and another one will come. And that is the most important message I have for us today, is that whatever we are passing through in terms of recession, you can sleep easy. Just know that it will soon come to pass, and prepare your mind for when next, the plenty will come. Imagine somebody walking in the desert and the person is already feeling tired and thirsty and wanting to faint. Even if it's by just seeing a mirage and he sees something like water, what happens? Adrenaline pumps, and I believe, and the person gets excited and ready to run to that water. That is what the consciousness of the fact that this thing that I'm passing through will only last for a while, even though it doesn't look like it will. And one of the things we need to do is clarify your core values. We all must clarify our core values, or we'll lose sleep. And when I mean clarify your core values, or why do you need to clarify your core values? This will help you define what is important for you, and not just the society or people around you. And this also will determine those who will survive and live to tell the tale. If you don't clarify your values, if your values are, what are people going to think about me now that I've brought my child from one big school to one small school? What are people going to think about me now if I sell my 8-plug car and I'll go to ordinary Camry that is 4-plug, so that I can still, just go through these first 2-3 years and survive it, then now start bouncing back again? If what you are thinking about is why, and some of these austerity measures I'm going to take to cut off the excesses so that I can survive this period. If you are thinking, what will people say? What will my church members, what will my work members say? You are not clarifying your values. You are putting what people will say above your survival of the recession. So I remember when I was working in the bank, in the very last branch I worked, was the manager there, but my car was the smallest. My car was the smallest in value. So everybody will come and say, oh, guy, you don't go, guy, you don't go, in a small car. But we all know that my salary was bigger than theirs. Everybody does what he wants to do with his own money. But I was planning for retirement. And my aim was that at the time I'm going to leave, I should have at least 2 years of my salary saved. I ended up doing more than 3 years of my salary saved. So I bought very cheap but presentable clothes. drove a modest car, tried as much as possible to cut all the excesses, put my children in schools where if I lose my job today, I will still be able to pay their fees basically. And then we moved together. You know, so when recession finally came, some of those people in the bank with me, the bank finally told them to go. And they came out, I had come out like 1 year plus ahead of them. I was still surviving outside, and they that came out just 3 months later could not fuel the cars that they were driving. They could not change the tire of the cars that they were driving. They could not pay the school fees of their children in the big schools that they were going just for 3 months. Just for 3 months. Now, the man that you are laughing at, this guy, the bank manager, was saying, and one small Camry pencil light, 9 they drive. But boy, I was still driving my pencil light, and later on I moved to a bigger one because the investment started growing. And during the time of recession, people were willing to sell cars. You can buy them cheaply. This you must, and I'm going to say it over and over again, you must tell yourself and your wife and your children what your core values. My value is to give you the best education. And there is one core value that many of us don't say to ourselves that I want us to start saying to ourselves, and maybe doctor will pick it up from here and resound it. Maybe this meeting or some other one. There's one core value. That core value is that I want to be alive to enjoy my children and my children's children as much as possible. So even though things are tough now, if I need to sleep, if sleep is what is going to help me, I'm going to work at sleeping. The doctor had told us that if you notice that, because again, it's not just saying it. She mentioned it's not just saying it to yourself. If you say it to yourself and it's not working, right, because your mind is detached from what you are saying and you can't sleep, seek medical attention instantly. Ensure you sleep and live enough to pass this recession and be around for your children and grandchildren. Many people want to drive the best cars, live in the best environment, and then die before their children even get to marry. They don't see it, they don't see being alive as a core value. I want to permit me to say, preach to us that being alive should be a core value. Anything anybody wants to say, let them say. The fact is that in 20 years' time, if I'm alive and people who did otherwise are late, I won. They lost. Right? So propose in your mind to survive this recession. That is one thing. If you miss planning, propose in your mind to survive recession. Remember, it is temporary. Plan to win now. Most people do not prepare for the mental game by adopting a new reality. You prepare for the mental game, tell yourself, oh boy, let's survive. If formerly I used to have common meat and fish, reduce it to only fish. If you cannot do that, get soya bean, do something, turn it to meat, survive. It's tough, yes. Gary is tough, yes. You missed it. Don't overbeat yourself, survive it. The next time you come, you would have learned from it and you move on. Most people it seems for most people that happiness is elusive. And that's because most people are looking for it in the future instead of in the present. Enjoy the recession. It is a story you will tell. Enjoy your family. If you can't go to ShopRite, buy games, buy Ludo. Recently, I bought Snake and Ladder. And I sat down with my 3 children. Unfortunately, we had I think it was only 2 people that can play Snake and Ladder at the same time. We play Snake and Ladder, you will climb. You will think you are almost there, then you hit on the mouth of the snake, and then you come down. You create excitement, make yourself happy, even though the environment is telling you you are in a dungeon. You have to propose in your heart to be happy. That is one way you can survive a recession, right? So for me, it is family and leisure. Create time for family, create time for leisure, games, study. have movie time with your family. You don't have to go, if you can't afford to go to Penn Cinema, I don't know whatever they call those cinemas, right? What I used to do those days, I would get candles, have candles that will off all the light, that will on the candles, and buy cheap popcorn and on a movie, and all of us will sit down and watch it with popcorn and candle, not in a cinema, in our room, cuddled together, watching movie and enjoy it, right? Survive this recession. Once you survive it, then you can move on. Now, number 2, stick to a budget. I have been teaching people stick to a budget, and I've been reading books, almost every economic book, whether the stupid ones or the good ones, always talk about stick to a budget. It never made as much sense to me until I moved to the UK. When I moved to the UK, it dawned on me that sticking to a budget is underrated. Because you pay for everything. That doesn't mean you don't pay for everything in Nigeria, but you know, somehow things are not too expensive when you talk about bills. Sometimes they don't come too heavy on your salary, right? But again, let me not go into the story. The idea here is stick to a budget. Try not to be impulsive or have knee-jerk reactions to buying. One of my mentors will say, if you want to buy anything, delay it for 3 days. If after 3 days you still feel like buying it, you might perhaps need it. And I tried it. So when I'm driving and I see Fanta, Coke, Gala, sometimes because you don't have spare change, there's that tendency that you didn't plan it before. You just wind down and say, give me. Delay it. You might just discover that you are able to get home, then you have something to eat, and then you didn't have to take that sugar, you didn't have to take that Gala, you didn't have to take that thing, right? If you have not planned to buy it, don't buy it. And you cannot say you have planned to buy it if you didn't write it down and compare it with your income. Knee-jerk buying is not sticking to a budget. It cannot be overemphasized. Our time is gone. Let's begin to wrap up. Number 2, manage your time and resources. When you're in a recession, you're in a time of famine. When you're in a time of famine or you're in a time of drought and the stream is dry, you don't just pour water around anyhow. You ration it. You ration it. For some families, it might be 0-1-1. For some families, it might be 1-0-1. Again, unfortunately, you didn't prepare. But just know that this time will pass. Another time is going to come. You are going to eat 4 ones in one day. One, you take lunch. In fact, you take sari, then you take breakfast, then you take lunch, then you take dinner. That time will come. For now, ration it. Preach to your children, talk to yourself, talk to your wife, and don't see it like you are suffering. See it as you are surviving, right? Now, so manage your time and resources. Walk to some places. You don't have to transport yourself. Walk. I used to give this illustration. Where I live in Ota, there's a stretch of road. I don't want to start mentioning the name because this is recorded. But that place to the major bus stop, I can take, well, I don't know what the cost is now, but those days it used to be like 50 naira bike. So when I came to the West for the first time as a copper, I discovered that if I have maybe like 500 in my pocket, I am willing to take that bike. But if the money remaining in my pocket is like 100, I will trek that distance and it won't look long. So I asked myself, those times when I take the bike, is it that the place is farther, or that I just feel I have money and I can waste 50 naira on a bike? And the answer was yes. I felt I had money and I can waste it because I could actually walk that distance. I could actually walk it, right? So walk to some places. Again, exercise. Reduce outings. Create your outings. Reduce eating out. If you must not visit, don't visit. And it's not every party you can go to. In fact, the theory is your presence or your presence. There are some places Just send the money you are supposed to use for the Ashoebi and your transport to them. And stay at home. Your presence or your presence. In fact, for some, no presence, no presence. The world will not fall. When they give birth to their first child, it may be outside the recession. Go and give them a bountiful gift then. Whatever anger they have with you would have dissipated. Again, remember, survive. If you please everybody and you don't survive, you lost. Exactly. Cut excesses, no waste. Cut excesses. Again, I remember one of the times I attended this same forum, and it was the doctor that was talking then. And so, sometimes when I see her, I'll be cracking joke with it because she did. Let me show you how she did. She used her hand and say small small something like this. So that day, my wife was there, and she now served me one small thing. She said, "This is what your doctor said, though." You know, I was like, this one cannot even. It's not enough for my youngest child. You know, but the point is that you could survive on that. Don't eat, cut the excess. Because again, the majority of it goes into the toilet. Cut any excess. Ask yourself, do I really need this? I've done that before. Then be flexible. Get a side hustle. This is recession. In recession time, if you're one of those people that were laughing at other people, why everybody using their WhatsApp status to sell something? Oh boy, gather anything you can sell and sell. Get a side hustle aside your job. It is recession. In recession, there is no big boy. There is survivor. Sell anything. Do anything legal to survive this time. Again, it won't last forever. Just survive it. Right? So if there's something to be done, there's something that can give you extra money. You see people selling clothes, selling cars. If you can advertise it on your own WhatsApp, get a buyer, and then get a cut of 10, 20,000. Why should you shy from it? Don't feel people will say, this big man is doing this. Survive. It is those of us that meet at the other side of recession that have survived. Those that were cut short because they couldn't sleep and they couldn't do anything, they have become history. Right? And this last one is taken from a story in the Bible called the 5 wise virgins. And the parable and the story is this. A wedding is holding, this is the last slide. A wedding is holding, and in that wedding, the groom, which is the husband, is supposed to come, and the bridegroom had, let's say, 10 first ladies, something like that. And the groom delayed in coming. And the groom is supposed to come in the night. The culture is that when the groom is coming, everybody will light their candle, their lantern, and they will go and welcome the groom, and they will go in together with the bride. So everybody had their own lantern lit on, waiting for the groom to come. Eventually, the groom did not come on time. Then they heard noise. Hey, the groom is Yahweh is around, the groom is around, and everybody woke up. When they woke up, all of them saw that their lantern was dying off because it has burnt up the oil in the reservoir. But 5 of them had extra oil, and they poured it into their lantern, and the lights resurrected. Right? The other 5 were like, alright, my friend, borrow me some. He said, look, I can't borrow you. If I give you part of the oil, it may not be enough for you and I. And eventually, the groom will come and none of the best ladies will be there. Quickly go into the city and go and get where to buy oil. Unfortunately, by the time they left, the groom came, and only the 5 who had extra were able to follow the groom into the ceremony, and they locked the door against the 5 who were not prepared. That's what happened during the recession. Those who save and prepare for the recession, they will enjoy, they will buy more properties, they will not cut their food that much, they will live on, they will move on. Those who did not prepare, will be like the sixth foolish virgin. Now, there are some people who prepared, but eventually, they were part of the 5 wise virgins, but eventually, some of them become the 6th foolish virgin. And how did they become that? You are in a recession, and then your name is Femi. Then you suddenly change your name to deliverer of every family member and every person in need in my society. So what does that mean? You have prepared for a recession. And there are several, remember I said, majority of the people don't prepare for a recession. So when majority of people don't prepare for recession, what it means is that there will be abundance of people in need. And if you have a good heart, there is a tendency that you want to solve every problem. The caution as a financial coach is don't. Don't bite more than what you can chew, because you don't know how long the recession will last. Because you don't know how long the recession will last, if you give and spend heavily, you may become the 6th foolish virgin. And there will only be 4 now that are wise. And then you lose your sleep. Right? The idea here is do as moderate as you can, conserve your energy, move into that. And I believe if we carry out some of these things, we will be able to survive a recession, sleep, well, even though in partly empty stomachs, knowing that this time will come to pass and the next will come. I want to thank you all for being here. Doctor, over to you, ma'am.
Wow. Well, let's give it up for Mr. Femi Raji. Please, let's show him some appreciation in the chat box. Please, let's thank him for this well-delivered presentation on survival strategies or strategies to thrive and sleep, in a recession. Thank you so much, sir. That was quite insightful. Many times, some of us, we go spiritual, yes, and it's really true. God will supply all my needs according to his riches in glory through Christ Jesus. Yes, so God is faithful. He keeps his own side, of the bargain, but he also says that he's the one who makes our hands to profit, right? So if we're not doing something actively, we're not being productive, then what is there to bless? And then we still need wisdom in managing those resources that he has given us. So thank you, sir, for these great insights. And yes, we have it coming in the chat box. From Funke Omotosho, well done, sir. Taiwo Oladiton saying thank you. Ikisa Josephine, great and inspiring. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the delivery. Well done. So impactful, good presentation, and we need these reminders. Good job. Thank you, Prof. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. Thank you, Mr. Femi Raji. Thank you. Good job. Thanks a lot. Thank you for these inspiring tips. It was so insightful. That's my chief there, Dr. Dan Abubakar. God bless you, sir. Great presentation. Thanks so much, Raji, for this very impactful presentation. This is very thoughtful of you, Mr. Raji. You have reopened our eyes and minds on a lot of sensitive things in our present situation. Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, everyone. Yes, we have a recorded session, but we want to welcome questions at this time. Do you want him to elaborate or clarify anything? What struck you during this presentation? Please do feel free to type your question in the chat box. And you could also raise your hand if you need to. Thank you so much, everyone. Do we have any questions? Interesting presentation. Thank you. Good presentation. Thank you, sir, for the wonderful presentation, timely presentation, great session, insightful lecture. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, sir. This is great feedback. Okay, so while we're waiting for any questions that some of us might have, Let me just give a little summary, or should I call it an overview of what you need to do in case you discover you're not sleeping well at night. You might be asking yourself, what am I going to do? To round off, I want to give us this overview. You know, a lot of people don't sleep at night, and most of the people who don't sleep well at night don't even come to the hospital to report it. And so they actually, it grows worse, you know, more problems add up over time. I've had people who come to the hospital and say they've not slept well in the past 10 years. So if you are not enjoying a restorative sleep, the way you will know is when you wake up in the morning, you don't feel refreshed, you feel like going back to bed, you find yourself feeling tired during the course of the day, you feel fatigued, you find yourself being forgetful, making mistakes. I read in Daily Bread sometime this year that a lady was trying to do a transfer, and she slept off, she dozed off while doing the bank transfer, and she added at least 6 more zeros, you know, to the transaction she was making in the bank. And she actually tapped send. I don't know whether she was sleep transacting, but, you know, thankfully they were able to retrieve that money. But that would have been a major loss, you know, for her company or for the bank if they were not able to get the money back from that client. So once you're not sleeping well, that a lot of telltale signs, you know, some of them are very obvious, but the other ones are not so obvious, are the elevations in the blood pressure, the poor control of your blood sugar, being overweight, having heart pain or chest pain. Then I've discovered now that a lot of patients complain of prickly sensation, palpitations, feeling of hotness once they have not been sleeping well. So in order for you to be able to make restorative sleep a reality, first of all, your mindset has to shift. Some people feel that sleep is wasted time. I need to sleep. Someone told me once that sleep is for the weak. So your mindset is important. Is sleep really important? Even as children of God, you know, the Bible says that the Lord gives his beloved sleep. And so it is vain for us to go to bed late and to wake up so early in the morning, eating the bread of sorrows. You know, so there's a time for everything. God has made our bodies to sleep. During that time you are sleeping, it's like wheeling your body into a mechanic repair shop. Your body repairs itself, you know, when you sleep. And sleep is medicine, really. So there are so many myths around sleep. Some people will say that my body will get used to my lack of sleep. Your body won't get used to it. In fact, we have studies now that show that the sleep deprivation that you engage in for maybe a month or so, that by the time you want to go back to your regular pattern, your body will go back to the regular pattern of sleeping. You might feel refreshed subsequently, but the damage that has occurred in your body over that time cannot be reversed. And so those are the things that contribute to premature aging and, you know, the early occurrence of some of these diseases that we mentioned. So it's very important that we debunk myths. There's so many of them, but I'll just mention that one. You need to be evaluated by your physician. It's very important. And lifestyle-related adjustments are some of the things that we will teach you. And I always talk about this to my patients, to my friends, to my colleagues. We must be deliberate about clearing up our internal environment and external environment. And we call this sleep hygiene. Of course, one of the things that we are focused on today is financial resilience. And you agree with me that Mr. Raji did a wonderful job of telling us how we can improve our financial resilience. If you want to learn more about how you can diversify financially, he's a finance coach. So he can actually give you some more tips, and we can share his email or contact with you so that you could, you know, link up with him later. Another thing that is very important is cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, for people who really can't sleep. They've tried everything. Their business is good. It's not as if they're having any issues. Maybe they had those issues before, they've been sorted, and still they can't sleep. There's still more therapy that you can benefit from. So that's why it's important to see your sleep physician, your family physician, your lifestyle medicine physician, and God would, help you to develop a restorative therapeutic sleep. And I want to remind us about the Ultimate Sleep Coaching Guide. God gave me insights for this guide. It's a 21-day guide that will change your sleep mindset and transform your sleep value. So for you, for someone important to you, just last week, I think the provost of one of our nursing schools, she's here tonight. When she discovered the value of this book, she got it across to important people within her circle, so that they could change their lifestyle as well, because this will tell you about how your diet can affect your sleep. It will tell you about how exercise can affect your sleep. It will tell you how you can save money while asleep. There's so many insights here. And within 21 days, you can actually form good habits that will encourage a refreshing sleep. So I really want to thank you for staying with us tonight. Lifestyle Champions International is a place where we encourage individuals to make healthy choices that will prevent lifestyle-related diseases. So we say choose life. Make a healthy choice today. It will make all the difference, by the grace of God. All right. I want to say a big thank you for holding on to the end. We still have many more thank yous in the chat box. I can't see any questions. Any questions? Any questions? So if we don't have any questions, so it means that everyone was able to understand everything that we talked about. Okay. So we're not going to keep us up for much longer because we want you to enjoy a refreshing sleep tonight. If you want to get a copy of the book, The Ultimate Sleep Coaching Guide, please, you can reach out to me. I'll be willing to get it across to you. And I've shared some links as well within the chat box. So we have 75 participants, and that's huge. We're really thankful to everyone who took time to join. I can see some of my colleagues in the room. I can see some of my friends as well, my old classmates. Wow, it's amazing. Thank you so much for joining. A restorative sleep is important for you as a doctor. Oh, I can see my big auntie, Dr. Ehimie. Thank you for joining us, Ma. I can see one of my chiefs as well, my trainer. So Dr. Odushote is here. Thank you, Ma, for being here. And Professor Stephen Johanna, thank you, sir, for always being here. He's my supervisor and trainer. I can also see the chairman of the Society of Family Physicians of Nigeria, Lagos chapter, Dr. Uzumba. Thank you, sir, for being here. I saw the vice president of the national body of the Society of Family Physicians of Nigeria earlier, Dr. Blessing Chukukelu. Oh, yes, she's still here. Thank you, Ma, for being here. Thank you so much for joining. Praying that we all have a restorative sleep tonight. So you can unmute yourself so that we can say our bye-byes before. Okay, is there a question? Did someone say there's a question? Oh, okay, I can see a question. Maybe we'll round up with that question. As a civil servant, earning poorly, how do you save for times of recession? Okay, so I'm not too sure he joined us at the beginning. Maybe you quickly go over that bit about saving. Sometimes the money doesn't seem enough, but let's see what insights you can still give us in that regard.
All right, Ma, I'll quickly answer this question. This is a very common question when it comes to money. And that partly for two reasons. The first being our concept of enough. The truth is that it's never really enough. But that still doesn't negate the fact that some people do earn poorly. For instance, if you earn 50,000 in the Nigeria of today, and someone is telling you save, it's like the person is telling you to go to the moon by just jumping. It's almost looking impossible. However, remember, our aim here is survival, right? If you're a civil servant, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to save from your, again, not just every civil servant, I'm talking about low cadre civil servant. It might be difficult for you to save with that, but I'm going to go to the other part. And again, I'm not using this word in an abusive or offensive way. I want to use the word ignorance. So in my circle, we normally say what you don't know is bigger than you. I have students right now in university who make like 500 to 600,000 naira on an average per month. They are still in school, right? And schooling can be likened to like working. You basically go to class at about 8, some lectures even 7, and for most universities, maybe 3 or 4, you are still in class or thereabout, depending on how it goes. And they are still able to jam the two together. Now, there are many other things you can do that can give you income. And when I do those coachings, I insist that, yes, it's good to earn in Naira, but you could earn in dollars. And what are those skills? Some of those skills are things you can learn within 6 months and perfect as you proceed. One of them is content writing, right? I spoke with somebody yesterday who used to be a teacher and was earning 60,000 some 4 years ago, before Corona. At least I remember that. And right now, I could boldly say he does close to, if not over 2 million naira in income per month writing content. And if you go online and watch some of the reports on Biden and Trump, some of the sites you go to, the people who write those contents are actually Nigerians, and he's one of them. He sits down, watch all of it, puts it together, and then writes. So the owners of this website and blogs are not necessarily writers themselves. They're looking for somebody to summarize, write, and drop. He's written small books, right? And I have some students like that. I have some, all they do is animation, right? Again, you can learn it, and with AI is there, right? So being a civil servant, you could do you close, I think close by 4 or 5. I don't know when civil servants close. Again, you just have to structure it in. But what I'm trying to say is that you can, if your saving is what you plan for, you can do it. You might not just to add a little more skill, right? If you learn how to do video editing, not one big one, right? I have people here, for instance, who need social media managers. And social media manager is not something you do with the whole of your time. They create a lot of content like what the doctor is doing now. Imagine if, I don't know if doctor has a social media manager, somebody who helps you cut some of these clips in short forms with some points, put it on Twitter, put it on TikTok, that's the person's job. He just tries to drive traffic for you, right? And then you pay that person. Some people earn millions doing that as side hustle, aside their job. And it may just take them 2 hours a day to do that. So in the age of technology, yes, you can save. Yes, I have people sub 18 doing that amount I just mentioned. So as a civil servant, yes, you can save. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. I think one just has to be deliberate about these things. And then if one has some guidance, then I think it would go a long way to help. So can you share your email, Bishop, in the chat box, so that in case anyone wants to reach out to you to learn more about how they can diversify their finance or get coached, they can also reach out. And then I put our YouTube channel link on the screen. Some people were asking about a recording. So we usually try to upload our recorded sessions like this to our YouTube channel. So you can click on it now and follow us, subscribe, so that if there is anything that you missed out from this session, you can always catch up later. A big thank you, everyone. It's just before the hours of 9. And so I think this is a good time to say bye-bye. So kindly unmute yourself. Let me just hear our voices before we go out.
Thank you, Ma. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ma.
Thank you,
God
Doctor.
bless you.
Bye. God
Thank
bless
you.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ma.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mr.
Thank you.
Raji.
Out today.
Good night. Thank you.
Raj, thank you. God bless
So
you.
much.
Thank you very much. Have
Thank
a good
you.
night.
Coverage.
God bless
Our
you.
Good night, everyone.
GT.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night. God bless you.
God bless you.
Great to see you again.
Good night.
Bye. Good night. Good to see
Thank
you.
you so much.
My
Thank you so much
president,
for
good
this
night.
section.
Thank you for coming. We're so glad you made it. Thank you so
Good
much.
night, Olga. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
so
And thank you, Dr. Makide.
thank you, ma'am.
Really enjoyed today's own.
Wow. Dr. Oboye, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank God.
Thank
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 you,
you.
family. We appreciate
Good
you.
night.
Thank you, sir. Your meaning made a great impact on us. Thank you, sir.
Wow.
Oh.
That's great.
Thank you, Dr. Makinde. That was a good one. First time.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Hello,
Thank you,
hello,
Dr.
everyone. Good night.
Oren. Good night. That was a nice one.
Oh, Sister Lizzie. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank God.
Bye. Good night.
Hello, Saturday. Hi.
Good evening, ma. Thank you
Good
for
night,
coming.
too.
Yes, ma. Have a great night.
You too, my dear. Bye-bye.
My president,
Welcome.
good night.
Good night.
Good night,
My
Nice being
class
here.
monitor, Dr. Lani,
Mommy,
thank you so
All
much,
right,
sir.
good night. All right.
Good night. Dr. Aremu, thank you for coming. Mr. Abino, thank you. Pastor Gbadebo, thank you. Mr. Dojo, Wale, thank you for being here. Sister Mojuma, thank you, ma. God bless you.
Thanks so much.
Yes, ma.
Yes, ma. Dr. Patricia, thank you so much. Dr. Salam, thank you, everyone. Dr. Heine, Pastor Majek. My Oga, Dr. Johanna, Prof, sir, Ogami. I greet you, sir. Thank you so much, everyone. Daddy Julius, I think I can see you. So thanks, everyone. This is a good place to call it a night. Have a restorative sleep. Bye.